Hurricane Heroes. As storms slammed the South in 2004, some brave folks risked their lives to help others. By Thomas Fields Meyer, Steve Helling, and Lori Rosa. Charlie, Francis, Ivan, Jean. 4 hurricanes in 6 weeks, more than 150 deaths, and 44 billion in damage. Faced with wrecked bridges, shattered condos, floods, and mudslides, millions of people in Florida, Georgia, and Alabama had to decide when to flee, what to save, or whom to help. Meet 4 people who made it through and helped many others along the way. A medical marathon. Ron Wegner treated wounds, some invisible. Wegner, 57, commander of Florida's 35-member disaster medical assistance team, spent several weeks living in Charlie's and Ivan's disaster zones. He put in 20-hour shifts and helped treat everything from broken bones to heart attacks. Still, he says his most memorable patient was an 83-year-old woman. She came into the makeshift emergency unit in the parking lot of a damaged Pensacola hospital where Wegner was stationed after Ivan. She showed him a bruise on her hand. She admitted she hadn't really been injured, but her house was destroyed, and she was alone, and she wanted to talk to somebody. So for 25 minutes I held her hand and we talked, he says. Really, her problem was just as important as a chainsaw accident. Wegner is an anesthetist who lives in Tampa. Like all of the disaster volunteers, Wegner was paid by the federal government what he would usually have earned in his regular job. Wegner is the nerve center of the medical team. He's the ringmaster of the circus, says Butch Kearney, a spokesperson for the Federal Emergency Management Agency. In the first 3 days after Ivan, Wegner's team treated 460 people. Though he misses his girlfriend and 25-year-old daughter, there were no complaints from Wegner. We've got our comfortable lives to go back to, he says. A lot of these people have nothing. He came, he saw, and he sawed. Jim Williams went out on many limbs. Driving to work the morning after Hurricane Charlie ripped through Sanford, Florida, mail carrier Williams was so stunned by the number of fallen trees he saw that he had to pull over. The area was just devastated, says Williams, 45, who grew up in the quiet community 25 miles north of Orlando. I sat in my truck and cried. Then he took action. Returning home, Williams grabbed his chainsaw and headed to the home of a friend's parents, where 2 huge oak trees had fallen. He sawed the rest of the day to clear the couple's driveway. Every day for the next 3 weeks, Williams delivered the mail through the cleanup from Charlie and Francis, but he also spent hours after work using his chainsaw wherever he could help, particularly outside the homes of retired people along his 18-mile mail route. Williams spent nearly 5 hours clearing a 40-foot oak from atop the home of Ginny Taffer, 79, and husband Gene, 83. He was my angel, says Ginny. What motivates Williams? He says that when his son James, 10, with wife Gail, 47, he also has a daughter Leah, 16, was ill with lymphoma. At 6, he made a pledge to help people. Besides, he adds, I was raised right and taught to do the right thing. Trapped in a collapsing hotel, Melissa Baldwin, fought her fears, and saved her guest. On August 13, 2004, the winds of Charley ripped the roof off of a wing of the Best Western waterfront in Punta Gorda, Florida. Fearing for her life, Melissa Baldwin, assistant manager of the motel, phoned her fiancé, Ted Barkenquast, from the front lobby. "Tell Mom and Dad I love them," she yelled, as windows shattered around her. Then the phone went dead, recalls Barkenquast. "All I could do was think the worst." But the storm brought out the best in Baldwin, 33, who suffers from epileptic seizures that can be brought on by stress. "I figured if I was going to go down, I'd go down saving lives," she says. She raced upstairs to the fifth floor. Then, working her way down, she moved 56 guests and employees to a windowless second-floor hall. Baldwin also ran outside and gathered people from a building next door. It sounded like a freight train was going through the building. The wind was screaming, and people were screaming, she recalls. "I honestly thought, so this is how I'm going to die?" Unable to move an elderly man in room 112, she helped him into a bathtub and cushioned his body with pillows. When one woman resisted, I said, "I'm not overreacting. Just trust me," says Baldwin. The hurricane pounded the hotel so hard that walls collapsed and air conditioning units were ripped away from the building. When the winds died down after midnight, Baldwin handed a list of the 56 guests, all breathing and unharmed, to a rescue worker. The worker marveled. "I can't believe you're all alive," says Baldwin's co-worker Lee Phillips. "Melissa was so comforting to the guest. If there were 15 of me, I don't think I could have been as comforting." She didn't crack. Baldwin is just happy everyone scraped through. "I don't know if I'll ever get over it," she says. "But the hurricane helped show me how strong I really am."